Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mary with Mary's Blue Door. Hope you're doing well. And if you're not, hopefully after this little share, you'll have a few more resources to help you. I wanted to talk today about 3 practical steps that you can take to, get your day feeling good right now. Because interacting with my clients, what I'm kind of recognizing a theme or a thread. And I expect that many of you who are listening are experiencing similar things. People are really concerned right now about their health. And they're also running into their head creating a lot of stories of the worst case scenario in terms of their health, but also in terms of their wealth. And so what I'm seeing is people running themselves into the ground, really running themselves ragged into the ground when they really need to just get grounded. This is a symptom of staying in our heads. And when we get into our heads, we get into these stories. And even though our concerns are real and valid, what happens is we tend to go down a rabbit hole. We start to think about, let's say I get sick. Well, then if I get sick, then this could happen. And then when that happens, this other thing could happen. And then this other thing could happen. And we go about 10 hops down this bunny hole. And before we know it, we're in doomsday scenario. Or we can do the same, if I lose my job, let's say I lose my job. Let's say I can't, then I might not be able to make my house payment. Then what's going to happen? Will I have to declare bankruptcy? And again, we go all the way down the road. And so we're staying really a lot in our heads, are creating these stories. And I don't use that word, like to invalidate the concerns or worries. I don't use that word lightly, but we generate these stories. I'm going to use that word, but I don't mean to offend or in any way diminish your concerns. But what this is impacting us, it's leading to people to not sleep very well. They either waking up multiple times during the night, sometimes can go back to sleep, sometimes they can't go back to sleep, or sometimes they have trouble falling asleep at all. I'm seeing clients with anxiety attacks, feeling a lot of panic, feeling a lot of hopelessness, a lot of overwhelm, and kind of feeling stuck in that. And then with that, when we start to feel stuck, then we can start to feel powerless, okay? And these aren't desirable places to be. And while it's important to recognize these feelings and be aware with them and allow them to be there, to listen to them, to love them, knowing that they're a scared part of us or maybe an angry part of us, but it's not productive to stay there and to let that control us and to control our behavior. Because what's happening is then people are starting to engage in what we call STIRBs, short-term emotionally relieving behaviors. These are things like overeating, over drinking, maybe going back to that smoking habit that you let go of a decade ago, maybe over shopping. That scarcity is kicking in, so I need to stock up on everything and just becoming obsessed about it. We saw that happen with toilet paper, right? So it's real, and that's that mindset of people just feeling super scarcity, and they want to do something that they feel might relieve that, and so we can overbuy. We can get lost in fantasy land in books or TV. And by themselves, none of those behaviors are detrimental to us. But if we start to use them to avoid our feelings, then we're not actually going to progress and get out of those stuck feelings, to get out of that anxiety, to get out of that panic and overwhelm. So the solution really is that we need to get back into our bodies. Because when we can ground back into our bodies, then we're going to start to be able to hit that reset button. We're going to be able to recenter ourselves and to recognize when we're going down those stories, right? And when we can get out of our head a little bit, what's going to become possible for us is that we're going to find ourselves sleeping better. What's that going to do for your energy levels? Imagine what that can do for your immune system. A good night's sleep is so important for our immune system because it takes a lot of energy when we're overwhelmed. It takes a lot of energy when we go into worry, when we go into anxiety. And when our body is expending energy on that stuff, then that's taking it away from building up our immune system. Imagine feeling rested. How cool would that be? When we're in our bodies too, funnily enough and counterintuitively, we actually become more aware of what's happening in our mind. When we're just in our heads, we're not really aware of it because we're, it's sort of like we've got tunnel vision, we're right in there. But when we get out of our heads and back into our body, then we can start to become aware. And it's so much easier to recognize those stories when they start to happen. And I kind of laugh now when I notice the stories because I still do them all the time. I create stories. I've had the scary story of what if something happens to my parents in Ireland right now? Imagine if if they died and I couldn't go to the funeral. But then I realized, Mary, that's a story. I don't need to go there. Now, in some universe, could that potentially happen? Of course it could. But it doesn't behoove me to go down that rabbit hole. Because that's not going to, the fact is right now, my parents are at home, they are healthy, they are happy, they are whole, they are observing the guideline to stay at home. I have 2 siblings that live close by that can bring them groceries, take care of them, all of that good stuff. That's the facts. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. So, the action steps that you can take right now, and these are all really easy steps. The first is to go outside. You can go for a walk in nature. You can go outside to your backyard, to your front yard, take off your shoes and your socks and put your feet on the ground. And soak up the sun. We live here in California. It's a beautiful day. It's springtime. All of the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it's fall, autumn. So it's a beautiful time to be outside. And when you can put your feet on the earth, that actually is super grounding. And what that means, if you're not familiar with that, is that you're going to start to feel a little bit more in control. You're going to start to feel a little bit more together. You can also find a tree and just lean up against a tree. And actually that's really good for our nervous system. Our spine is the large part of our nervous system. And when you can put your spine right up against that tree energy really is soothing to the meridians that run along the spine. It's a super easy exercise to do. That's the first thing, get outside. Second is to journal those stories. I gave the example of the one with my parents, right? The story is they could get sick. The story is if they did, who'd be there to help them? The story goes, well, then they could die. And then I wouldn't be able to get there. And how would that feel? And oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The facts are, they're happy, healthy, and whole. And so you just start to do that and it helps you to identify that and catch it. And yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite exercises. I do it all the time. The third tip is just to connect to your breath. Take some time taking deep breaths and do some meditation. And meditation doesn't have to look like Om, sitting there closing your eyes, stock still, spine tall. You can do a meditation as you're washing your hands. Okay, we're all taking extra time right now to wash your hands. So imagine if when you're washing them, you start to notice, how do my hands feel? What does the soap feel like? What does the suds feel like on the bottom of my hands? On the tops of my hands? What does it feel like when I rub my hands back to back? Or palm to the back of my hand? Or how does it feel when I rub my palms together? How does it feel when I intertwine my fingers? And you can just breathe the whole time you're doing that. It's a super easy meditation that is going to get you out of your head and into your body for that 20 seconds. Imagine if you did that all day, every day. If you want to go deeper with your meditation, I am offering guided meditations every Wednesday this month. Next one is going to be next Wednesday, April 8th at 11. The rest of the month are going to be Wednesdays at 10 a.m. But next week, because of conflict, it's going to be at 11 a.m. If you want the link to that, let me know. If you really are finding yourself just running yourself into the ground with all of these worries, when you really need to get grounded in a big way, then I have my Simply Healed energy clearing and healing. And Simply Healed is a super powerful tool that helps us to eliminate those subconscious beliefs that are limiting us. And we get to replace them with positive affirmations that support us in creating the outcomes that we really want, that our hearts really desire. And I'm offering both group calls and one-on-one sessions. Our next group call is actually next week, April 9th. And the theme for that is going to be faith over fear. And the nice thing about a group call is that we kind of get to go broad because everybody comes to the call and brings their unique concern. And sometimes they'll bring concerns that we have too, it's just maybe low on our radar. And so we get to go nice and broad with all of the different concerns that people may be having. Working one-on-one, you get to go really deep with what's going on with you, what's underneath the surface, what's underneath the story. Is there, I'm gonna pause for a second, kind of backtrack, because sometimes too, the anxiety and the overwhelm that we're feeling right now, it isn't all ours. Because just like we inherit our eye color and our hair color and our height and all of that good stuff, we also inherit some emotional baggage. And this is not the first time that the world has gone through a crisis. There was the Irish famine. There was World War I. There was the Spanish flu. World War II, the Great Depression. There was the crash of 1987. There was 9/11. Most recently, there was a housing crisis in 2008. So when those things happen, they impact us emotionally. They're traumatic. And sometimes we don't grieve them or heal those traumas completely. And so the brain, or the DNA there's actually DNA in the brain that will encode that and hold on to that and pass it through the generations. And so when we go through with the Simply Healed work, I can look and see, is there anything on your timelines that's contributing to the intensity of the emotions that you're feeling right now? Is there some mindsets that you have? Is there some underlying scarcity mindset that you have because of limiting beliefs that are in your subconscious that you are completely unaware of, that you didn't generate, that actually were inherited from your ancestors? So it's a real cool way to be able to clear that and get you out of the cycle of overwhelm that you're in. To get the most out of these calls, whether you do the group call or the one-on-ones, it's really good to think about your biggest challenges and taking notes of all of that and sending that to me ahead of time through Messenger or an email or a text, so that when I do the session, we are fully prepared. And I can do my research beforehand and all of that good stuff. How do you want to be for the rest of this crisis? We don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know, is it going to be another 2 weeks, 2 months? We don't know. We have no control over that. We can only control what we do for ourselves. So if you're sick and tired of feeling how you're feeling, there are steps that you can take, and I can be a part of that solution. It's really important to be prepared, not panicked. And that's what my goal is for you, and to help you have that stronger faith than fear. Faith that all is going to be okay. Faith in the science, faith in whatever it is that you need right now that's going to pull you through in the most positive, uplifting way for your highest good and the highest good of all of your family. I would love to hear from you and get some feedback on anything that you heard. I would love to hear if you take any of these tips, how they worked for you. If you have other ideas of tips that have been really beneficial to you, please share that with the group too. We would love to hear from you. and wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.